Hello neighbors, and welcome to Miracle Farm 1927 Homestead. Today we're out here in the apples and it is time to do a little bit of harvesting because these apples are firstly wearing down some of the branches all the way to the ground with how heavy they are. And as we walk down through, it's also time to do a little bit of maintenance on our driveway because the grass is getting a little tall. But if we start bush hogging around these trees, more apples are going to be falling, because if you look down through here, there are perfectly good apples already falling off the trees mature. So we're going to go ahead and pick up these apples today that are ready and laying on the ground before the critters start going after them and we'll miss them. There's silver right over here. And we don't want to waste anything.
You've caught me at a good time here in the afternoon. I'm all clean for once, and I have sat down here to try to figure out a mess I've made with our apples. We are having a wonderful apple year, and I will show you a lot of recipes and how we're going to preserve these apples. But for today, I wanted to let you know how I've done something and don't do this. This is one of those mistakes that I've just got a big old mess. I've got baskets of apples. I showed them to you earlier, and each basket has a number on it. The number is where the tree is along my driveway or some other area. We have over 50 fruit trees here, and we get most of our trees from the Southern Heritage Apple Orchard in Pinnacle. And I am going to leave you some information, because if you're in North Carolina, this is where you need to get your apples, because they have been gathered up all around the South, and there are ones that you have never heard of that were local apples in this region that you can't find anywhere else but this place. And in October, they have a big day there. It's their corn shucking, and they sell trees. They also have a time in the year in the spring where they have a grafting class, and they also have other different times where you can go buy trees. But this is in association with the Horne Creek Living Historical Park, and this apple orchard is right there with it. So what I did as more than 10 years ago, we decided, instead of lining our driveway with those ugly pear trees, that we would line them with apples, because we only have 5 acres. We can't block out an acre of land just to put apple trees. So and I could only afford a couple apple trees a year, so all my apples are different sizes, ages, types, everything. So there'll be a big old tall mature tree, and there might be a little baby right beside of it. And I started my orchard with money that my granny left me, my granny up in Maine, like 15 years ago when she passed away. She gave us, I think it was either $250 or $350, and I put that money in a little envelope, and I started buying trees. My mistake was I started buying trees at the big box stores don't do that. If at all possible, don't do that. And the reason is because you are buying trees that you have no idea where they came from. And none of those live, by the way, none of them. I'm not saying it was the fault of the store. It was probably my naiveness that killed them. But none of those original trees are here. So we found this place and we started buying trees here. But that's what I invested my money in. And so it's my granny's orchard, my Granny DeShane. And each year, if a tree dies from disease, we don't treat the trees. I'm not in any way, shape, or form any kind of expert on apple trees. I plant them, I take care of them best I can, but they might get funguses, a goat might eat them. All different kind of things happen to them. So this year, I'm having to replace 5 trees, and we are going to the Southern Heritage Apple Orchard to get those trees. I like to plant them in the fall, and when I plant a tree on one side of the driveway, the matching tree is on the other side of the driveway. So you could lose one tree and the rootstock is still growing, and so you can graft across the driveway, and we've done that a couple times. So, but what my mess is here is that a tree would die and I wouldn't erase it off my list, and then I'd plant another tree and I might put it on the list somewhere, and all I did, I think I got one tree off. I have the names of the trees and I've got where they are in the driveway, and now I'm trying to a friend sent me some wonderful apple information of how to identify them, and so I do have the names, most of them, and so what we're doing is I am trying to match up the name of the apple with which one it looks like. And out of the ones these are the ones on the table, let's see, there's 6, 7, 8 that don't have named. And the only one that I know for sure which one it is this big giant one right here. And it's a Doodle Beauty. So that is my little note to you guys is you think you're going to remember and you just don't. Especially if you get more than one kind of tree. Put it in, this is my garden records. Like I said, I got the names, but I'm a tree off or something, or some of them that's died I haven't taken off of here. So just keep them. The name doesn't matter that much if you're processing apples. That doesn't matter as much as I know this is a Doodle Beauty. The Doodle Beauty that goes across from it died. So I know I need to go get another Doodle Beauty. And they have hundreds of varieties of trees at this place. I think they said they had, let's see, I have it right here, 400 varieties of trees. And these trees grow in this southern region, and they are made here to go here. Here was one of my main questions. You know, they're coming out with all these new varieties that don't get this and don't get that, or resistant and all that stuff. And this was years ago when I asked this question. And they had this beautiful display of all these apples. And I said, so, you know, somebody told me to come and get something that's more resistant to live here. And he just looked at me with he had a display of like 50 apples, and he said, they have to be pretty resistant or they wouldn't still be here. These varieties are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, and that's what I want on my farm. That's what we're trying to do is heritage work here. We're trying to remember the past, and more than likely some of these apples grew around here before everybody started clearing all the fields and things. So don't go for just that. Get you some resistant kinds if you want to, but these heritage ones, they've been here for hundreds and hundreds of years, and here they are. No, they've got this little, whatever it is that causes these little dark spots on them. Doesn't hurt the flavor, doesn't stop them from growing. Still get that, but look at this beautiful, all these, they're different sizes, they're beautiful. Here's my green ones. Have no idea what this little green thing is, but we're going to try to find out. So, look at the size difference of that. So anyway, that's just something I don't want you to do. I just thought I was going to get a few trees. I didn't know I'd end up with 50. So here we are. We're going to solve this mystery this year, and then I will be able to tell you each time what kind of apples we're processing. Got our 2 big crock pots full of apples. The lids aren't quite down on them, but they'll cook down in an hour or so, and I can close the lids all the way. There's just a little bit of water in the bottom of them, and they're set on 10 hours. First step to making our apple butter. Okay, the last you saw was we had 2 crock pots full of apples, and they cooked on low for 10 hours overnight, and I put all the one into this one. So now we've got nice mushy apples, and that's all that's in here. Now, to make your apple butter, I've seen a lot of recipes that call for a lot of sugar, and that's just going to depend on how sweet your apples are. My apples are pretty sweet, so even though these are a lot of apples, we're probably just going to put a cup and a half of sugar in here. And guys, this is to taste. Don't just go by a recipe. If you got a Granny Smith tart apple, you might want a little bit more sugar, but these apples are already sweet, so they don't need that much sugar. This recipe called for a brown sugar, like most of them do, but we have our own molasses, so I'll be using that today. So they will have just a little molasses taste, but we love that. And the other spices are to your taste too. Now, I'm crazy about cinnamon, so we're going to make it brown with cinnamon. There's nothing better than the cinnamon and apple taste. And I like nutmeg. And if you don't like one of these spices, simply just don't put it in. And a little bit of ginger. And I will taste it. And I'll probably put about a teaspoon of salt in here. And use your stick immersion blender. And that's the best way. But if you don't have that, you can use a regular blender to get it nice and smooth. Now I'm going to bring y'all back in just a minute after I'm just about done. You don't want to sit here and watch me do this for a few minutes. Now you can see it's getting nice and smooth. Now you can see it is leaving traces, So you can tell it's getting thicker. And it's piling up just a little bit there. But it's not quite, it's still pretty liquid. So what I do, take me a little taste out. What I do is I'm going to turn my crock pot up to high. And I'm going to leave it. And we're going to put the lid on a jar. Put the lid on so it'll retain heat, but leave it open a little bit so the steam will come out, so it'll cook out just, so it'll cook down just a little bit more, because I like thick apple butter. Now that's a preference too. However, this is more like applesauce, and I want it a little thicker so it'll spread better. So we're going to leave that to cook while I'm getting the jars ready. So I've had it on high for about an hour, and you can see when I pour it, it stacks up a little bit. So it is ready to go in the jars. Okay, we've cut the crock pot off. We have hot jars here. And all we have to do is fill them up with a 1/4 inch headspace. So that is full beyond the rim right here. It's up a little bit more. Settle it down just a little bit. Oh, I forgot my wipe. Wipe the edge. Get your hot lid. Finger tight. It's ready to go into the canner. Hand it off to my assistant. So remember, everything's hot. Hot jar, hot lid. Contents are hot. Jiggle it down a little bit. So we're going to fill up the canner. Last one. And I didn't tell you, but I did put a teaspoon of salt in these. And once these start boiling, it's on the timer for 10 minutes.
sweet.